I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. During Senate floor remarks on Tuesday, Senator Jon Tester spoke in support of the Honoring Our PACT Act. Republicans last week blocked the long-awaited legislation, which is aimed at helping service members exposed to toxic substances get the necessary health care they need. The Montana Democrats said that the legislation makes sure that, quote, those folks that have been impacted by war are taken care of. Tester has been an outspoken proponent of this bill and urged his colleagues to vote yes when the bill was voted on again with added amendments. On Tuesday night, the PACT Act passed in an 86-11 vote in the Senate.
Mr. President, I stand in front of this body yet again to urge the passage of the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson Honoring Our PACT Act. And before I get into my remarks, Senator Moran is on the floor. I listened to a good portion of what he had to say, and I just want to say thank you to Senator Moran. As a team member on the Veterans Affairs Committee, for the last year and a half, we've been working in good faith to get a bill that addresses the challenges of toxic exposure that our veterans, quite honestly, have endured since World War I. And with the burn pits and Agent Orange and the radiation exposure that this bill addresses, I would just say that we would not be here today if we hadn't both committed to work together to get to a result that hopefully, I was a little more sure of this last week than I am today, but hopefully get to a point where this bill passes. We've talked about this bill a lot. We've talked about what it does. And basically what it does is make sure that the veterans who have been exposed to toxins, in this case burn pits, but also, as I said before, Agent Orange and radiation, are made whole again. So we get these folks, we train them to be warriors, we send these men and women off to war, we tell them to go out and protect our freedoms and protect this country. They do it, and oftentimes things happen that changes their lives. Sometimes those injuries we can see, sometimes we can't see them. And in this particular case with toxic burn pits, they come home and they have developed disorders because they breathe these toxins in. And if anybody's ever been around a burning barrel that have had plastics in it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you breathe these toxins and it causes cancers and it causes lung issues. Well, the problem is these folks couldn't get away. These burn pits were right outside the camps. They were right next to the chow line, right next to the beds they slept in, and they had to breathe this garbage sometimes day and night. It resulted in some pretty serious injury that is resulted oftentimes in death. Now, the reason I say that is because over the last year and a half, the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee had several hearings, and we have witnesses come forth that have been impacted by burn pits and toxic exposure. And I can tell you some of those folks aren't with us today. The toxins got them. And so not only was the veteran life ended, which is unfortunate in and of itself, but also the family that was dependent upon that veteran had their lives turned upside down. So it is time that we set that record straight and make sure that those folks that have been impacted by war are taken care of. And I hope that there's nobody in this body that thinks that's unreasonable. Because the truth is I think most of the folks in this body have been to the Middle East and they've seen what a different world that is and how it makes me damn glad to be a Montanan and to be an American. But we've got an ability today to step up and do the right thing. There have been a lot of claims made over the last week or two. I would go into those claims and refute those claims, but quite frankly, I don't see the sense in it. If the folks here haven't read this bill, if they haven't read the letter that I sent out to every senator in this body early today. I would ask that you would, if you have any questions, come run me down, and I will answer any of them. The fact is we've done this whole process in a very transparent manner. No surprises, no last-minute stuff put into this bill, no slush funds. This is a bill that will work for this country, it will work for the taxpayers of this country, and it will work, most importantly, for the veterans and their families. We have an opportunity, as I said last week, to do the right thing today. We have an opportunity to make the Senate, have the American people be proud of the Senate and the work they do. I would hope we get a resounding vote on this bill, and I would hope that we don't amend it to have to go back to the House, because that, once again, would delay benefits and do real damage to this bill. So I'd ask my fellow senators, when they come to the floor and vote, think about the veterans that are standing outside the Capitol out here. Think about the veterans in your home state. Think about the veterans that you met while they were on active duty on your Codels. And remember them and do the right thing. Vote to pass the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson PACT Act. Mr. President, I yield the floor.